Welcome to Curious Conversations about Brain Change, where we have open conversations about brain change and challenging situations. Please like, subscribe, and share this out to help spread Teepa all over the world.
Well, good evening, everybody. And I want to say a special thanks to Matthew, Samantha, Beth, and Cheryl for spending time with us in the evening. And we have three people who will be, actually four, if I count Rachel. Four folks will be joining us in our second segment. Tonight's topic is finances, fraud, risk, safety, when it comes to dementia. But before we do that, we want to say a major shout out to Brian LeBlanc, who passed away at a very young age. And he is one of the sort of pioneer advocates for people living with dementia. He lived with his condition of brain change for a long time, and he's someone who used the phrase brain fog to describe what he experienced sometimes. It's just foggy, really, really foggy, and I can't go very fast in the fog because I'll wreck, and I get lost really easy in the fog. And then suddenly, just as it came, the fog's gone and I'm clear. And so we miss him. And I know there are friends out there who are familiar with Brian's work. And we actually have two different episodes that we have done with Brian. And I think one of them was with Maureen as well, um, who's his partner in life there. And so we're going to make those available to you afterward. If you have interest in checking them out, please check and you'll find the link. Okay. So I'm going to now pause and say finances. Yes. When we say the word finances, many people go, oh, finances. So if I say finances, what comes immediately to the minds of the other people here with me? And you out there, you can contribute too, because when you come in on the live feed, we do get that information. We'll pick up on it. So Matt, what do you have for me? Finances.
Balancing your finances, making sure you have enough to cover the stuff you got to cover. That's like the first thing that comes to my mind.
Okay, so Matthew, you're talking about a skill of being able to put together all the things that you're going to have to pay for, and then looking at how much you have and matching those two, making sure those two match. Okay. So when you do that, are you talking about for today, for a month, for a year, for a week? How do you balance that?
Yes. I think really when it comes to that, it's like all of the above. If
And
there
all
was
of
an
the
option of all of the above, because you have to look week by week because things can change. You got to look at each month because you know that there are certain things that come in each month. And then you got to look at the year because there's stuff coming up that are happening, and you're gonna have to eventually pay for that. So I mean, I would say all of the above.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I noticed you didn't mention if you go out for lunch, you have to look in your wallet to see if you have the money to pay with, or there's this other thing we have. It's magic. It's a piece of plastic and you can just use it until you can't. So this balancing thing, it gets a little tricky. So Beth or Cheryl or Samantha, what are some other ideas you have when I say the word finances?
Something I'm not very good at.
Oh, so you, without brain change, recognize, ooh, is it a stress inducer for you?
A little, yes, especially the future plan ahead type stuff.
The future plan ahead. Are you good with keeping up when the bill comes in, you pay the bill?
I have to have support.
Oh, you have to have support. So what kind of support does that entail for you?
Mostly my husband takes care of it anyway, but there are things, reminders, things that tell me, oh, something needs to be paid with money.
Okay. So you'd get a reminder and then you know something has to be paid, or somebody else does it for you, like your spouse. Okay. And so if that spouse were suddenly not available to you,
There could be some real panic. But there is a system he has set up, so I
Do
could
you
use
know the system?
pretty good, I'd say.
I loved how your voice hit that high register right there. Pretty good, sort of. All right. Beth, what about you? Oh, Beth is busy right now on her she can't figure out the sound thing, or else she's talking to somebody. Yeah. So, oops. Cheryl, how about you?
So for me, Teepa, I've learned a lot throughout the years on finances, and but now at my age, I'm really, really cautious. I don't like a debt. I pay them when they come in, and
Ah.
that wasn't me at my younger years. I
So
kind
you're getting to a point where you're being super careful about these things. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Yes, and especially with what's going on right now, I'm not even looking in at my RSP, see where it's standing.
Really? All right. Well, then let me give you a little added things. Okay, gifts. Giving people gifts.
Oh, well, I kind of do that with yeah, I'm easy at doing that, giving gifts.
Giving
But
gifts. So, but finances about giving gifts. Do you tend to underspend, overspend? Do you plan that, or is it what might be happening?
I do plan that. I do plan that, and I
Oh,
know
you do.
exactly what I'm gonna what the kids are gonna get. It's equal amounts. I do plan ahead for that. Yes.
Okay.
Those
All right.
other moments besides
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Samantha, are you a plan ahead for gifts? Or are you a spontaneous gift buyer?
spontaneous and probably overspend. I
Oh,
do.
so you're spontaneous and you overspend. So, are you thinking of all the holidays in the upcoming year or the upcoming month when you look at your budget? Do you do a budget and then you look at how much you have to spend on gifts? Is that a thing you do? No.
It creeps up on me, and then I'm like, oh, it's in a week. I should do something.
Okay. So, how much interest is on your credit card? How much interest do you have to pay if you do not pay off your credit card each month?
No idea.
You have no idea. Cheryl, how about you? How much do you have to pay off what's your interest rate if you do not pay off your credit card?
18%, I believe.
What is it?
18%. I
18%.
put it at zero. I pay it before the bill is due. So I
Right.
honestly, I used to not do that, but I do that now.
You do that now. All
Mhm.
right.
No
So,
interest happening on this girl.
so we have,
On that
okay.
car payment, Teepa. How
Oh,
do you bring that down?
so you like to pay ahead to get things down. Hmm. And that's different than you used to be.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
grown up a little bit.
More cautious as you've gotten a little older. All right. So now, let's add in fraud. Somebody wants to cheat you out of something. How tuned are you into somebody might be trying to run a scam? What do you think? Are you someone who's easily foolable, or are you someone who is pretty quick to pick up on this, do you think?
Are there any scammers out there listening? 'Cause I could be easily fooled. I think I probably could be fooled easy. So
Oh boy.
no,
Maybe we should take your last name off so I don't know how to find you, Cheryl. So, Samantha, how about you? How are you?
I think it would depend on the scam. I don't answer unknown calls to my
Okay.
I'm very cautious of what comes through email. And,
Okay.
and if something says, "Oh, your Apple ID has been dismantled," then I don't click the link. I
Hmm.
go directly to the official website to log in
Okay.
and check.
Okay. How did you learn to do that? Did you have to
Um,
have a mistake to learn it, or did you learn it by listening to what people said and realize, or have you always done it?
well, as a young lady, the internet has always been a part of my life, and so there was other
Ouch.
people's.
Let me just say, ouch. That was a real ouch for us older people. That was one of those, the internet was not always part of my life. I will be on, I'm on the upper curve, and no, it came in late in my life. How did I balance my budget? There was a checkbook, and you had these columns, and you had to learn to write things in the columns. How did I get paid? I got a check in the mail. You took the check to the bank, you signed the back of it, and then it went into your account, usually 3 days later or 2 days later. So you had to wait till the check cleared. And then once you did that, then and how did you pay bills? The bill would come in paper form. You'd tear off the bottom part. It had an envelope that had a window. You'd stick it in there. You put that in. If you bought any subscriptions, you would have to send them the money. I mean, everything was done with basically check or cash when I was younger. Then then at some point there was a credit card. But when I was young, we didn't have credit cards. Just like we didn't have black and white TV till I was in grade school. So so for me, the internet is newer, and paying things by internet, like going on the bank and banking online, that's a really newer phenomena. And actually, my husband does all that. I mean, my job is otherwise. I have other jobs, and that is not one of them. I have lots of other jobs. Doing the banking is not one of them. So, how about, when did you get your first credit card?
I was 18. I
18.
needed it
Huh.
for
You
school.
too?
Mhm.
Matthew, how old were you when you got your first credit card?
I was 19 going on 20. I got it in college.
Okay,
Someone was
Beth, when
going
did you get your
around.
first credit card?
College, about 18, probably 18, 19.
Ouch. I am feeling extremely old in this group because there were no, we didn't have credit cards back then. You got your own credit, you got your own banking account, and you got your own checks. You could get your own checks when you were in college.
Wait,
And there
Teepa,
wasn't, yeah.
did you have that little passbook that you
Yes,
had
you
to,
did
like,
have a
put
pass.
in? Yeah, we can help you. We can support you a little bit. We got some of those old men.
Well, and here's the thing, we didn't have a debit card. There was no such thing as a debit card. You couldn't, there were no money machines, nothing like that. So now imagine one of us develops dementia, or imagine our spouse develops dementia, and suddenly we're being faced with the prospect of trying to manage things. And then let's add on top of that that there's issues with certain dementias in the area of gambling, in the area of risk taking with money, in the area of gifting people, in the area of suddenly be responsible for a lot of home maintenance type stuff that you may not be familiar with. So you're very at risk for scammers who say they will do things and promise things. And they actually, particularly, are typically looking for older women, although they are known for also taking advantage of other vulnerable populations. So that financial issues actually are a major problem for the vast majority of older adults, because they are at high risk for people getting smarter and better at doing these scams, and more internet accessibility. And so, for instance, lately I've been getting phone calls on my message, the one where you can do text. So I get a text in, and it says something like, um, let me see. I got a couple. It says, "Oh, hey there. I wanted to work directly with you because John gave me your name. Tell you what, give me a call back so we can set up a meeting." Now, I'm like, I don't know the number. Or here's a better one. What are we having for dinner? And it's like one of those things, if you just glanced at it, who would you think sent you that?
I'd
Someone
ask
through
my
your family.
spouse or
Yeah.
my kid.
And if I just went, well, we're having chicken, and now the guy or the person, like, got it. So when it comes to dementia, how many things can you think of already that could cause issues and challenges in life when it comes to finances?
Everything.
Mhm.
Everything. Yeah. Including for every 4 episodes of a financial fraud, 3 out of 4 are done by people known to the individual. They aren't people totally unknown to the person. There's a history or there's a knowledge of the individual, so they have some inside story. Now, some of them will be family members, some of them will be friends, some will be acquaintances, some will be people that they know from the grocery store or service industry. Some of them may be from healthcare, workers that are not bonded, people who come into the home. Financial issues and financial fraud and financial advantage is a huge problem when somebody starts to have brain changes, both because they themselves can make mistakes that they would never have made before, but also because sometimes they're taking on new roles and responsibilities that they've never had before. So I could be the care partner of somebody with dementia, and suddenly I'm vulnerable because I don't actually really know what the pattern was before, so people can take advantage of that. What we also have is gifting is a huge issue in this, and people take advantage of that. So I'm going to give these last couple minutes that I have any thoughts on the part of the people here, because what I can tell you is there are huge task forces in many states that are trying to address this, attorney generals that are trying to address this, families who are often left holding the bag and trying to figure out how are we going to correct this. It can result in huge fights and disagreements and breaking of relationships over time. And as a matter of fact, in the world of young onset dementia, can actually result in divorce and separation before anybody realizes what's going on is actually the onset of a dementia. Parkinson's disease and Lewy body, high risk for gambling, which means, oh, those credit cards, that debit card, uh-oh. Any joint accounts can suddenly become vulnerable spaces. Other folks, what you got?
Teepa, would that
Cheryl?
be for frontal temporal dementia as well?
Frontal temporal dementias have an incredibly high risk of impulsive behaviors. Yeah. And so it puts people at incredibly high risk for large purchases like motor vehicles or a dinner for everybody, or, and you could go on. And it could also mean that I'm not paying bills that are important to pay, including insurance premiums or for the medications that I need because I spent all the money on something else or car insurance.
And Teepa, I've heard a lot of people talk about the computer.
Yes. Oh, yeah. There's the whole buying network thing where people will buy on the late night. Ooh, when I'm up and I'm available and I have my credit card. Yep. Beth?
It makes me think of my head is always going to a place of trying to figure out what our skills are. And I think it tells me a lot about the power of the difference between I'm here to help or let me help you versus Teepa, I could use your help.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
one of the things you taught me was unbelievable skills with my money. You're the reason I got the house that I did.
Oh, well, we did want you to know how to manage the money.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, You helped me teach my husband too.
Oh, really?
You did, yeah. I was able to. He didn't
don't
get
remember
any of
doing
that stuff
that.
that you gave me.
Oh, you taught him because I taught you. Oh, I hear you.
You
Uh-huh.
literally are one of the smartest people I know with money.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, I try. I
Yeah.
try to do a good job. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a big thing we've been talking about for a while.
Oh,
And yeah, we've been talking about this idea of how we continue to learn from each other.
oh, yeah.
So I could use your help to help me figure out
Uh-huh.
what I could do to protect myself financially.
Oh, well, I used to know stuff like that.
You did. You were really good at that stuff.
Yeah.
It's gotten
So,
more complicated, hasn't it?
yeah, it sure has. Okay, so we'll pause here. But I'm hoping what you just heard Beth do is how do you start to address these things so it doesn't feel like an attack on me personally or on what I'm able to do. So, you've heard us talk a little bit about finances and fraud and financial abuse. Oh, we didn't even get to that one. What we're going to do now is listen to some of our friends, and they are our friends. We know all these folks and know them well. And Rachel, talk a little bit from the perspective of living with dementia, talking about financial issues. So they got together and they had to they talked for a whole hour, but they boiled it down to 15 to 20 minutes. So they did a good job of trying to get it down to the size that we asked them for. So you're about to see their conversation about.
Stephen, you worked in a financial institution, so I thought that was kind of a unique perspective that you have, kind of both sides of the table per se. And Arnie, you come with personal experience, but also kind of sort of with job or business, kind of made things a little bit tricky. And Anne, I was thinking kind of having the background with FTD, since FTD and finances is kind of a particular challenge. I thought bringing the three of you together would make kind of a really neat group. So if that's okay with you guys, I thought that might be a place to start.
So duplicate checks, I highly recommend for people so that you can keep track of, did you pay something or did you not pay something? You can go back. So, and then writing down the bills and keeping track on a monthly basis. So it's good to have things documented and whatnot. So those are some, highly recommended practices I encourage everybody to use.
It was torturous to me to have to give up our finances because I used to handle everything between the business and home and that. And I agree with Stephen, the double checks are much easier for to go back with. But you can also use dual signature checks where, excuse me, a check can't go out unless there are two signatures on it. It makes it more difficult, but it also lets the person that you trust know where the checks are. The other couple of things are with credit cards and debit cards, you can put a limit on it, how much can be paid from that. And if you're over that limit, it just stops you from being able to use it.
I haven't used a check in years. Okay, everything's electronic. So it kind of makes it harder, whatever. So I just let my husband do it anymore. Okay, because it's just too complicated or whatever. The thing with dementia, especially frontal temporal dementia, the impulse and lack of frontal judgment is really difficult. A lot of people, what they do is if they can't have the money to buy it, they just steal it. Okay. They'll go down the street and walk into a store and steal it. I know people that have had to take their credit card away or whatever, but they always seem to find a way to get it in some way because they're just driven to do it. Okay. So what I tend to do though is I get money from different resources, and what I tend to do is cash those and put it in an envelope. And so if there's something that I want that I don't really need, I deposit some of that money so that I know how much cash I'm spending, and it makes me stop and think a minute, do I really need those earrings? Because I only have so much cash. And I did that to myself.
So having the cash, it gives you a little bit more of a concrete
Yes, it
way
gives
to
me
think
more
about it.
concrete about what I'm spending and do I really want to spend that money? Yeah.
Yeah, my wife only allows me a little bit of cash because I've lost cash before. So I get like a, what's it called? Like an allowance of a little bit of cash, because to the point
Mhm.
where if I lose it, it's like no big deal. Having it on the statement, kind of, she can show it to me versus when she just talks about it, it's just like, oh, I just look at her like, yeah, yeah, sure, whatever. But when it's in front of me in writing, it like resonates a little bit better. So
Yeah, it's a hard thing because money kind of rules the world, okay? And if you don't have any money, you don't feel like a person. So to have some kind of allowance, like you say, it helps a lot, make you feel like you still have some choices.
yeah, I've got money in my pocket, like you said. Because I feel like empty, or like, hey, well, I don't have anything. Well, here's $14 or whatever. She's not giving me $80 or 100. She's giving here like $27. She tries to break it up to like 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s so that if I am shopping, I won't mistakenly, spend the wrong amount of money or whatever. But yeah, so it feels like there's more money because there's more bills in my pocket, but there's a lot of 1s and 5s.
It's like Ann was saying with impulse buying. Um, I don't tend to sleep well, so I may find something between Amazon or eBay that I will buy because there's a card connected to that. So all I have to do is press buy now, and it's done. And then
Done.
either the next day or 2 days after, there's something dropped off at the front door that's from Amazon. And Michelle asked me, "What'd you order?" And I go, "I have no idea. Let's open it up and find out." At least fortunately, it's still free returns with Amazon and that. So um, that's where I have to be more careful. And the biggest one to be careful of is if you order from Facebook for anything.
A lot of fraud on those things.
Those tend to be really fraudulent.
Really fraudulent.
Well, like you said, self-discovery is an important thing. Seeing it visually and asking the person questions versus telling them is a way to help them trying to read it and understand it. And wow, I didn't realize I spent, $500 that month on things like that.
I think yelling doesn't help either. There's so many people that get yelled at. Why did you spend that? What are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Okay. It just makes the situation worse. It makes people very anxious. I don't know why I did that. And you know what I mean? You need to kind of calm it down like Steven's saying, and just show, and especially when there's a moment of clarity, because sometimes it's not a good day to talk about it.
The
That's the
timing, you wouldn't do
thing.
this late in the evening going over finances when your brain is tired or whatever. You're perfectly right, Ann. You have to choose the right time to address this
You
with.
got to use the right time, and also when you have a more moment of clarity to talk about it. Okay. But people get so reactionary, it just goes downhill.
We use a phrase when we talk to our kids and stuff. You have to stay vanilla, because as soon as you raise your voice or get aggressive, people shut you down and they stop listening. All they hear is you cussing at them or whatever, even if they're wrong. Well, you're swearing at me the whole time, but you took the money. Well, you were cussing at me. Well, why did you take the money?
Yeah.
Somebody they're like, they can't get upset because you're not yelling or screaming at them. So the joke that we always, not joke, the phrase we always, you got to stay vanilla so the person hears what you're saying.
Well, one of the biggest things, especially early on in a marriage, that creates divorce is over monetary factors. The other one is communication, which as we get older are still the two major things that we need to do. And handing over anything you do that you've done all of your life, and now you have to hand it over for somebody else to do, is a traumatic event and takes a long time to settle down. I mean, I was used to doing everything. Now my wife and I do it together. I don't think we have to do it together. She can probably do it on her own, but she wants to include me in it. And where Stephen was saying, his wife pays all the bills at the beginning of the month. Well, I'm kind of OCD about that. And I don't know if Ann or Stephen, if you guys experienced that. I was used to doing this thing for 30 years, and I showed Michelle how to do it. But Michelle thought that she found an easier way for her to do it, which worked. But I'm sitting there going, what the shit are you doing? I showed you how to do it. And I've done it this way for so many years. Now you're changing it. So if something happens to you before me, now I can't figure out what you're doing. So it can be very awkward when I've kind of stepped back and thrown my hands up and said, okay, do it however you want.
Yeah, that's how it was with Tracy and I when she first took over the bills. She was paying them different timing and different processing. She says, you know what, Stephen, your process worked wonderful for 30 years. I'm so happy you did it, but that's a little bit more complicated for me. I'm going to simplify it, but I would love for you, and she kept me apart. I would love for you to look at it after I'm done. So I still felt like I was in control. And the other thing is, I think if somebody's having problems and you start by saying, hey, George, the next time you do the bills, can I watch you do them? So I see how you do it. So you can learn from them. Not that hey, next time you do the bills, let me do them. Instead of saying, next time you're doing the bills, can I watch how you do it? Oh, and then ask them, well, why do you pay that way? Well, I paid this way because the other bigger check doesn't come in until this, and that covers the mortgages. Oh, so that's why you do that or whatnot. And Tracy did that when I was first turning it over, and she was taking notes of, okay, this one, and she wrote lists. These 8 things get paid on the 1st. These ones get paid on the 8th. These ones get paid on the 15th. She had like a little cheat sheet from asking me questions by watching me. And that's the most non-threatening ways, by saying like, let me watch you do it. And then the next thing, hey, why don't we do it together? I'll fill out the checks. You tell me how much to make them for and who to make them to. So again, I'm in control of the money per se because I'm telling her the amount and she's doing the writing of the checks. And then the next time she says, okay, why don't you watch and let me try and do it on my own while you watch me. So she again is leaving me in control by saying, let you watch me. And then she paid the bills and stuff. And then it got to the point where I said, oh, don't we need to do the bills? She goes, no. I actually the other day when you were taking a nap, I paid them all. And then she's got the little thing. She goes, do you want to take a look at it to make sure I did it okay? So again, leaving me kind of in control by saying, do you want to check to see how I did it to make sure I did it right? So she's using the right words or whatnot along the way, but trying to keep the person involved in some way until the point where now when she pays the bills, I'm not even around anymore, which makes me happy. But at the beginning, I was like, Arnie, no, you're not doing it the right way. That's not how I did it.
No, just try to be patient as possible and try to include however way you can include, even if it's just signing your name on the check. If that's what all you can do that.
You've given some ideas like not yelling, because that never helps, and trying to come alongside, doing it together, letting that person actually be the expert that they are and have been. And if somebody's not really aware, thinks that they're fine, then they can help you, but that lets you see what's going on, and you're building a connection, you're building trust, and you're letting them know that you're not just in to take over.
I'll sum it up, and it may just be for me, that it's still communication that you have to have. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And granted, one person may not be able to communicate anymore. And that becomes a much harder or more difficult situation.
Well, I'm thinking they can communicate. You just may not be using words that we'd like for them to.
And I
That's
think
true.
I like the way you said about coming alongside. Enough has been taken away from us. Some of us have lost our licenses. Some of us have lost our jobs. Some of us have lost relationships with people. There's enough that's been taken away from us. Coming alongside is non-threatening. You're coming alongside to help. So, and it got to the point now where I like it when Tracy just does the bills. I don't even ask her anymore. I just know that they're done. But I do know where the book is at. So if I want to double check and see how things are going, it's laid out, left on the counter so that I can see it or whatever. But coming alongside the person and not taking something away, because like I said, so much has already been taken away from us.
I think it's important to also get a trust.
Yeah,
Okay.
losing trust.
To get a trust, that will help with a lot of things, because then you can make it very clear, if I'm incapacitated, who's next on the list. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Yeah. And sometimes those trusts are really hard for people, because sometime if they find out that you have a dementia of any kind, they will have you sign something, a power of attorney, okay, to your spouse. And it can get very emotional. I mean, the first time I did that, I just cried the whole time, because I had lost my job and everything due to this disease. And then now I have to give up power of attorney. It's very emotional. We did a new trust not long ago, and we talked about it, and I didn't do that again, but yeah.
There's a lot of emotion that comes with this, and a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of it's an emotionally charged thing, because it's not just finances. It seems like there's a lot more of independence, like you talked about how money is so important, and there's just so many family dynamics, and just it's a very complicated situation. So I realize we can't cover everything, but I thought it would be well worth sharing perspectives from you guys, because it doesn't seem like that's a perspective that's heard very often. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Yep. Thanks for including us.
Oh, thank you.
So now you're going to pay us? No, I'm just
I know, that's the next thing. What shall I pay you in? I know,
Amazon bucks.
money.
There you go.
Crypto's working fine these days.
Yeah.
What a great group. So let's do a quick check-in with what did you all hear people mention, and what didn't you hear them mention from the things we talked about early on? Because I want to go back over it. They did a great job of sharing a huge number of ideas, thoughts, information, but there were some missing pieces there. And there were some different pieces there. So what did y'all pick up on?
I mean, going back first to the place of what I heard, I really was struck by Arnie's last statement. Thanks for including us. And that seemed to be a theme throughout. Is this idea that the minute you get dementia, no matter where your skill sets are and are not, people just automatically assume if you can't do one thing, you can't do any of it. But at the same time, I also see other people's point of view that this is an important piece. It's so emotional, as one of them said. How do I safeguard? But I thought Anne, right? I can't remember Anne, her statement of, if you don't have money, it's like you're not a person.
Yeah.
Dang.
Ouch. It was like Joanna, one time, one of our other friends said, when you don't have a profession anymore, you've lost your personhood. And dementia has this unique capacity of robbing people by virtue of how other people treat you. And it's this phenomena that there are a few other conditions that can do it, but dementia has this remarkable power to disempower by virtue of a simple word. And yet it shouldn't have that. I mean, you just heard three remarkable human beings discussing a fairly complex, and Stephen, with all his detail, I mean, he used to be a banker and manage loans and do these huge jobs, and he still is very tuned in. But as you found, as he's moved, he's not early in his dementia. He's had dementia for quite some time, and he has opted, well, I'm glad she does it now, I don't have to do it, because he's found other places and spaces, and I think an other sense of value. And one of the sense of value is speaking up and being an advocate. So this idea of how do we, if we are feeling that managing finances isn't something somebody's safe at doing anymore, and I use the word safe, it's a safety issue. How can we minimize the impact of not having that power in the same way I had before with my own finances? Because it is frequently, it is my money, or it is partially at least my money, and I earned it. And yet the reality is, if given free rein, as Stephen said, what was his big issue with cash? What happens for him?
It's gone.
He loses it. I mean, he literally loses the money, or he doesn't know whether he's given somebody a 20, a 50, a 10. So he's super vulnerable. I mean, if you have good people who are really honest and wonderful people, they will make sure that he gets the right change back. But I don't know if I need to tell you this or not, but there are people out there that aren't honorable, safe, and wonderful people that take advantage of individuals. What else did you notice? Beth, that was a great noticing. Who else? What did you notice, Cheryl?
Well, I just was thinking about Stephen when he said so it's substitution versus subtraction, because they made his wallet still look full, feel full, but with ones, twos, and fives that weren't going to be as.
Yeah. So I had a gentleman that would not come to the dinner table in the assisted living. And people would say he just won't eat. And it's like, and he's losing weight, we need him to eat. And I said, well, they had checked out everything, quote unquote. We've looked at everything. I mean, he should be able to eat. I don't understand, but he will not eat. I mean, he just won't eat. And this is like day 3 of him on a hunger strike. And so it was like they were getting worried. I mean, he would drink water. If they offered him water, he would drink water, but he wouldn't eat anything. He wouldn't drink coffee. He wouldn't drink anything in the dining area. And so I went over and introduced myself, sat down. I said, well, hey, Frank, they were going to have dinner. I was thinking of going. And he goes, yeah, well, I hadn't got any cash on me. And I said, oh, you don't want to stiff the waitress, huh? And he goes, yeah. I mean, I can't pay for my meal. I don't have money for a tip. I can't eat in the restaurant. I mean, I keep waiting. And he kept I forgot the other part when I was telling you this story. He kept saying, listen, I got to get home. I can't stay here anymore. I mean, I really got to get home. I don't even know how I got here. I mean, can you give me a ride home? Will anybody give me a ride home? I just got to get home. I mean, I'll come back. I promise. I promise. I just need to get home. I just need to go. No, I'm not going to eat. No, I'm fine. Just leave me be. Leave me be. If you won't take me home, never mind. And he would sit by the door because I'd forgotten about that part of it. I just remembered him. And so, you know what, Frank? Tell you what, let me spot you some. And you can write me an IOU. I said, well, yeah, I mean, I'm good for it. I'm good for it if I can just get home. Nobody will take me. I said, I can't take you right now. Why don't we go eat, though? Like, here, you can pay for dinner. Here's a 20. And so I gave him a 20, and we went in. And the staff said, so what do you think I'm going to say next?
You don't need
Because
to
they
pay.
didn't have
That's a
time to
party.
do the advance work. This
You
is
you don't need to pay. This is all covered by your place. You're good.
what are you talking about? No, I need to pay for our dinner. This I brought the money so I could pay.
Well, no, this is a part of your stay here. You live in here. That's
Hey,
a
I'm
part
not
of your stay
staying.
here.
Do you mean that I'm not staying.
Well, this is where you live, though.
No, this isn't where I live. Call me a taxi. I've got money.
Uh-oh. Well, I mean, let me go get my
I'm
manager.
sorry. That was the moment when I was like, oh, dear Lord. So as you got sort of witness with our three friends who all live with dementia. It's not like humor is missing. It's not like that wisdom is missing. I mean, folks have capacity. So he decided if you weren't going to give him food, that he wasn't living here, just call him a taxi. He had money for a taxi now. He didn't need somebody to drive him home. He would get a taxi home. And I'm thinking, you just bring him the food and write him a ticket and so ultimately that did become a way we dealt with it. But I mean, I was just doing a consult. It was just like, who has dementia here? We need some brain change in the other direction.
And Teepa, that situation is not an uncommon one. I've been in many different places where somebody has said, I can't pay to be here, especially because sometimes this is a resort, or you're on vacation, or this is a hotel room. And as soon as that's brought up, the very first thought is, oh, how am I gonna? Yeah. And now we have a new situation to support. And so it's that thoughtful process of really truly understanding where the person's coming from. And when you try to just use the reassurance of, oh, it's okay, it's all taken care of, it's all paid for, it's all good, it's all what we need to be ready for, or what we may need to try different than using something like that. Because for all of you, I don't know about you guys, but anytime someone walks up to me and says, hey, I want to do something for you and it's going to be absolutely free, how many of you are like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, this is totally legit? Or is the first thought, this is going to lead to something, there's something, this doesn't seem right?
Yeah. And in this case, Beth, I want us to play with this a little bit, because I say, I'll tell you what, write me an IOU and I'll give you a 20 and you can cover dinner.
You give me a 20?
I will. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm good for it.
I know that. I believe you. I absolutely believe you are. Tell you what, I'm going to make a note. You say it's an IOU, you sign it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You got a pen?
Okay.
I don't have anything. Thanks.
Okay. And here's the 20. And that's what we're going to use for dinner tonight. Don't get heavy handed, but I think it'll cover the two of us because they had a special.
All right. Because I'm going to cover you because you're doing me this favor, and I'm going
to, I could pay for my own. Do you think I should pay for my own then, or?
No, I got you. You're thinking
because I don't mind paying for my own. You could use the whole 20 and it would cover dinner and maybe breakfast.
Oh, that's true.
Why don't I pay for mine? You pay for yours.
All right. Well, and I'm good for it. If I can get home, I can get my wallet. I've always got cash.
Or you know what? I could get up with your husband and make sure he knows about this, because I bet he doesn't even know that you need to have some cash here to pay.
No, because honestly, between the two of us, he always has 20s in his, and I would not go to the bank. I'd always just take the 20s from his.
Oh, you would get the 20 out of that. Makes sense. That makes perfectly good. Okay, so I'm going to pause here, because what I did is, okay, so am I actually lying? Now, this is where I want us to talk honestly. Did anything I say, is it a lie?
So go back to some of your phrases. You said you offered me the 20.
I have a 20. I can cover for you.
Fact.
If you write me an IOU.
Okay.
And I believe you're good for it.
He's living here, and these places aren't cheap, so he's probably good for it. Okay.
That's my best guess.
Okay.
Added which I have a secondary knowledge, which is more than likely, if I give them the money, they'll turn around and give it back to me at some point.
Yeah, you got to do some recon first, though, Teepa.
I've got to do some recon first. Now, why did I say, okay, well, wait, if I pay for my own, then you'll have enough for dinner and then maybe some for breakfast.
Yeah, you flipped that one on me.
Yeah. What does that say about how long you might be needing cash?
Yeah, so it's that leading into staying here. It's not that we're leaving from here. This gives you something to go into the next day. It creates some reassurance too, knowing that he's got something
So
that
the
can
next
help.
meal and the next meal. So he has enough for not only this meal, but for the next meal. And so we're starting to figure out, okay, what was keeping him from eating? It wasn't that he wasn't hungry. It wasn't that there was something wrong with him. Is that if you don't have money, you don't take food.
Teepa, everyone kind of looked frozen to me. No, I don't know why everyone was so still, and I'm like, I'm sorry about that. Teepa, my father-in-law, when he was in the memory care home, we would walk him to lunch before we would head out. When we got there, he's like, I don't have any money. And my husband, he digs in his pocket and he pulls out 2 5s. He goes, oh, Dad, you're looking for money? Here. He goes, well, that's too much. Take one back. Well, $5 is enough. I don't know if he knew even how much that was, but yeah,
There you go.
he was quite happy and stayed. And we went left with
There you
5
go. I had an older gentleman in one other situation where I said, you know what? Let me ask him. Hey, if we clear tables, could we have a plate? And of course, they looked at me like I was, I was, I was like, what are you talking about? You don't have to clear the tables. And I said, John and I were thinking if we cleared tables, that would be enough to pay for a meal. Is that fair? I mean, we won't be extravagant or anything, but would that be enough? And one smart aide said, well,
Oh,
let me check with the manager, but I think so. So they went and asked, they had the manager come forward and say, okay, we don't do this just for anybody, but you know what? In your case, you've always been a good customer. Absolutely. So these are ways in which we talk about preserving personhood, talking about keeping the person in the center of this. And finances can be huge, they could be small, they could be really problematic for families. I mean, it's not easy doing this. And taking over someone's money management, if you don't know what they've done with the money, my grandma was a prime example of she hid her cash. And it was only after her passing that we found big chunks of money that she had hidden away because she took it all out of the bank before we knew she had dementia. And this is one of the really problematic parts right now across this nation because there is no baseline established on abilities any more than naming animals than there is how do you manage money? How do you manage finances? How do you check for road reliability before people keep doing what they've been doing until there's a huge wreck at the end of the road, or people around them realize something is going on and they really do a fantastic job of transitioning, or they do a really miserable job of transitioning and create great trauma for themselves and the people they really care about.
oh,
You know, it's hard, but our mission in what we attempt to do is by bringing it up, laying it out, can make a big difference. And so Matthew pointed out something in the chat that we'll share out loud because it's sort of important.
Yeah, so Teepa, my great grandmother, who ended up getting a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, when my family got to the point where they had to start sorting through everything to figure out where her money was, which they were not sure. There was no records, there was nothing like that. And only until after her passing did they start to figure out she had money in other banks that they never knew she had gone and put money in, or why she went and put money in there. But suddenly these banks were popping up because luckily they were at least listed as a relative. And so my grandfather, his mother, and so was notified, hey, we've been trying to reach her, no answer, no nothing. So we went here, and yeah, lo and behold. So yeah, 5 different banks that she had spread her money out in different places.
Mhm. Yeah. And we have things like passwords. Those matter. And if that person is the only person with a password, oh no. Oops. And I have some friends that have changed their passwords, but now they can't remember what they changed them to. And then it becomes essential that you find someone that is bonded and you can trust, because what you're going to give them access to is the very thing that allows anybody to get into an account and empty it. So let me say again, this is a highly complicated, highly complex, and as our friends living with dementia pointed out, emotional issue that often results in lots of communication issues. If you're not sure where to go or how to handle something, you're not even sure whether what you're dealing with is dementia or maybe a personality shift or maybe something different, feel free to get up with us for a complimentary conversation to try to sort out what might be going on. If you're someone who's trying to support someone, consider our Care Partner Support Series, because it might be super helpful for you to develop some of those skills that you heard our friends talking about to make life more doable. And if you're actually looking for some hardcore skills, you might want to think about our champion courses, which actually teach some of the things that Beth was doing with me and I was doing with Beth, and I've done in other places. And finally, maybe you just might be interested in understanding the changing brain, which is a book we do have available. So however we can be useful and helpful, please reach out, because we do what we do to try to support others. So Matthew, any final words, or any of the team members have a final word before we head out today?
I just
Big thing.
point
Go ahead,
out that
Samantha.
I love that Stephen and his wife, there was an easing into and working together. I love that. And then it sounded like Arnie had the same thing with his wife, of just easing into it and working together.
And this is when they have clarity. People had clarity. They talked about in moments of clarity. I will guarantee, just like in every marriage, there are moments of high stress and drama. Not always, but there are those moments where you go, you did what? And then you have to catch yourself. Surely you guys have had those moments. Or is it just around our house? So nothing is irreparable if you're willing to talk about it and come back to it and consider once again, what can I do differently to make there be a better outcome? So Matthew, to close us off.
I was just going to thank the team. Big thank you to the team that's here, especially Rachel and her team as well, that all joined us to give us that insight. How lucky are we? And again, how important it is. It pays homage really to Brian and all of the great insight and pieces he gave us in his time that we got to work with him. So huge thank you to all, because we can't do it without everybody involved. This is all of us together, not just us by ourselves or trying to do separately.
All right, everybody out there, if you have any questions that we can respond to, bring them up, share out, let us know. info@teepasnow.com. Anytime you have a question, feel free, pop it in there. We'll see what we can do. Night,